This isn't just another tech story. This is about a technology that could literally rewrite our future. It's a clash of huge ideas and a wild struggle for power. This is the insane story of OpenAI. Everything just exploded with this one sentence. Out of nowhere, on a Friday in November 2023, the entire tech world was just stunned. A bombshell statement dropped. The guy who was basically the face of the AI revolution, Sam Altman, had just been fired by his own company. So, how does that even happen? How does the CEO of the AI revolution get kicked out just like that by his own board? Well, the answer to that question, it reveals a massive battle for the very soul of this technology that's changing everything. All right, so to really get what happened, we need to rewind. Let's go back to that absolutely chaotic weekend in November 2023, because this wasn't your standard corporate shakeup. No way. This was a full-blown Silicon Valley coup. And it happened so fast. I mean, in a flash. Sam Altman gets this text from his co-founder, Ilya Sutskever. Hey, can you hop on a video call? So he does. And on the other end, the board. And they just tell him, he's out. Fired. A few moments later, he's locked out of his own company computer. It was a total, complete ambush. So the big question is, how could a board just fire its own super famous founder? To figure that out, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. We need to look at the strange, almost idealistic DNA of this company. Because it wasn't just founded to build AI, it was founded to achieve AGI, artificial general intelligence, a machine that's smarter than all of humanity combined. And right at the core of it all, you had these two clashing personalities. On one side, you've got Elon Musk. He was absolutely terrified that a company like Google would get to AGI first and just wouldn't care about safety. And then on the other side, you have Sam Altman, a guy who was just a brilliant operator. His own mentor once said he could be parachuted into an island full of cannibals and come back in 5 years as the kin. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. So, what was their plan? Well, it was pretty radical. To fight back against a secretive, for-profit giant, they decided to create its exact opposite. So in 2015, OpenAI was born. And get this, it was a nonprofit. The entire thing was built on the idea of safety first. The mission was to build this powerful AI for the good of all humanity and to share everything openly, so no single company could hold all the power. But, that amazing utopian vision, it was about to have a very rude awakening. It was about to collide head-on with the cold, hard reality of money and power. Turns out the open in OpenAI, that wasn't going to last very long. It really was like a domino effect. First, in 2018, Elon Musk tries to take over the whole company. The board says no, so he leaves, and he pulls his billion-dollar funding promise. Just like that, and suddenly, OpenAI is in this massive funding crisis. They were forced to make a really controversial choice. Ditch the whole nonprofit thing and switch to a capped profit model, just so they could get new investors in the door. And that pivot, it led directly to a massive, multi-billion-dollar partnership with Microsoft. For critics, especially Elon Musk, this was the ultimate betrayal. Right? The little nonprofit that was supposed to be the alternative to big tech was now in bed with one of the biggest players on the planet. The whole safety-first idea was starting to lose out to the need for speed and a whole lot of cash. But here's the thing. This new structure, all this new money, it arrived at the perfect time. A massive technological breakthrough was happening right at that moment, and it was about to turn OpenAI from this little research lab into a global phenomenon. The key to all of this was a technology called the transformer. Now, this was actually pioneered by researchers at Google. It was a totally new way to build AI. And while Google was being super cautious with it, the folks at OpenAI saw its huge potential and they just went all in. That's actually the T in GPT. And it's what allowed them to train their AI on, well, basically the entire internet. Okay, so fast forward to November 2022. OpenAI decides to put out what they called a low-key research preview. It was their new chatbot, ChatGPT. Internally, the most optimistic person in the room thought maybe they'd hit 100,000 users in the first week. 100,000 users? They weren't just wrong. They were off by an absolutely astronomical margin. ChatGPT became the fastest growing app in human history. It hit 100 million users in just 2 months. To put that in perspective, it took Facebook more than 4 years to do that. The genie wasn't just out of the bottle, it was out and it was never going back in. Which brings us right back where we started. That insane weekend in 2023. ChatGPT is taking over the entire world. So how on earth could the board fire the guy who was steering the ship? So the board's official reason was super vague. They just said Sam wasn't being consistently candid. Yeah, right. Behind the scenes, a huge battle was going on. Was he pushing products out too fast and ignoring safety? Was he distracted by his other projects? Or, and this is the most chilling theory, had the company's chief scientist, Ilya Sutskever, a guy who was all about AI safety, seen some new breakthrough that was so powerful, so dangerous, that he felt he had to slam on the emergency brake by firing the driver? What happened next was one of the most insane corporate turnarounds ever. Friday, Sam's out. Saturday, the co-founder quits in protest. Sunday, nearly every single employee signs a letter. They say they'll all quit and follow Sam to Microsoft unless the board resigns. Monday, Ilya, the board member who helped fire him, flips sides. And by Tuesday, it's over. Sam Altman is back as CEO. I mean, this employee revolt was just a tidal wave. Social media was completely flooded with staff posting that one simple message: OpenAI is nothing without its people. The board made a huge, fatal mistake. They thought they were just firing a CEO. They had no idea how loyal people were to him. And while all this was happening, what was Sam doing? He was just replying to his employees, one by one, with little heart emojis. So when Sam and his co-founder Greg Brockman finally walked back into the office, the message was crystal clear. The coup had failed. You know that saying, if you come at the king, you best not miss? Well, the board messed. Big time. But look, this wasn't just things going back to normal. Not at all. This failed coup completely changed the power structure inside OpenAI, and it left Sam Altman, well, in a stronger position than he had ever been in before. And here is the absolute irony of the whole situation. Sam himself had publicly said he liked OpenAI's weird board structure. He said the fact that the board could fire him was an important check on his power. But then, the moment they actually tried to use that power against him, the whole thing just crumbled. I mean, just think about how it all ended up. The board members who tried to fire him, they're gone, replaced by a new board that he basically approved. His employees, they've shown they're 100% loyal to him. In this big war between safety first and go faster, the go faster side just won a massive victory. And now the guy in charge of what could be humanity's most important technology has fewer people who can tell him no than ever before. And that leaves us with Sam Altman's own words, which are honestly pretty bizarre and chilling. He's on record saying he thinks AI will most likely sort of lead to the end of the world. But hey, in the meantime, there will be great companies. So after 5 days of pure chaos, the man with that paradoxical vision is back on the throne, more powerful than ever. And the big question for all of us is, who's left to hold him accountable?